If you keep getting interviews but no job offers, your resume is probably doing one job well, but your interview is not yet giving the hiring team enough evidence to choose you. This is the mistake many qualified people make. They treat interviews as proof that they are almost there. Sometimes that is true, but an interview is not a reward for a good resume. It is a separate test with different rules. Your resume answers one question: should we talk to this person? It can win that question with strong keywords, relevant titles, clear experience, and enough matching skills. That is why you can get calls even if your interview strategy is weak. The interview answers a harder question. Can we trust this person to do this job, here, with this team, under real pressure? That requires more than sounding nice, prepared, or experienced. It requires decision evidence. Decision evidence is anything in your answer that helps the interviewer picture you succeeding in the role. It includes the problem you faced, the choice you made, why you made it, what changed, and what that proves about your judgment. You can have a friendly interview and still lose. The interviewer may like you, but after the call, they have to compare you with other candidates. If your answers were pleasant but vague, they may have nothing strong to defend. Most rejections after interviews are not saying you are unqualified. They are saying another candidate was easier to believe, easier to describe, or easier to connect to the problems of the role. The first common failure point is vague examples. This happens when your answer sounds true, but it does not give the interviewer a specific moment to evaluate. You say you are collaborative, adaptable, or analytical, but you do not show it happening. A weak answer sounds like this: I'm good at working with difficult stakeholders. I try to listen, understand their concerns, and find a solution that works for everyone. That sounds positive, but it could belong to almost anyone. A stronger answer sounds like this: in my last role, our sales team wanted a report changed every Monday, but finance needed stable numbers for month end. I set one weekly version for sales and one locked version for finance, which reduced repeated correction requests. Notice the difference. The stronger answer is not more dramatic. It is more inspectable. The interviewer can see the conflict, your action, and the practical result. Specificity makes your experience easier to trust. If you are using interviews to make a career move, not just practice talking about yourself, subscribe for more practical job search breakdowns like this. The goal here is simple: make your experience easier for employers to understand and believe. The second failure point is no business impact. Many candidates explain what they did, but not why it mattered. They describe tasks, meetings, tools, and responsibilities. The hiring team still has to guess whether any of it created value. Saying you managed projects is activity. Saying you helped reduce delays, improve handoffs, protect revenue, lower errors, increase response speed, or make a process easier to repeat is impact. Impact does not always need a perfect number, but it needs a clear effect. If you do not have exact metrics, use grounded language. Say what became faster, cleaner, safer, easier, more consistent, or less risky. You can say, I did not own the final metric, but the change removed a manual step that had been causing weekly delays. Here is the weak version. I was responsible for onboarding new team members and making sure they had the information they needed. That explains a responsibility, but it does not show what improved because you handled it well. Here is the stronger version. I noticed new hires were asking the same setup questions during their first week, so I created a short onboarding checklist and recorded answers to the most common issues. After that, managers spent less time repeating instructions and new hires got productive faster. A useful interview formula is simple. Name the situation, name the tension, name your action, name the result, then name what it proves. That last part matters because interviewers are not only collecting stories, they are deciding what those stories mean. After a story, add one sentence that connects it to the job. For example, that is the way I handle ambiguous requests. I clarify the real user need first, then build a repeatable process instead of just answering one urgent question. The third failure point is a weak closing. Many candidates finish answers by trailing off. They say, so yeah, that was basically it. The story ends, but the evidence never lands. The end of an answer is where the interviewer often writes the note. If your ending is soft, their note may be soft. If your ending makes the takeaway clear, their note becomes easier to use in the hiring discussion. Instead of fading out, close with the point. You could say, the main takeaway is that I can bring order to messy handoffs without waiting for perfect instructions. That is exactly the kind of problem I understand this role needs solved. Your final minutes also matter. When the interviewer asks if you have anything else, do not only say thank you. Use a short closing statement that reminds them why you fit the role and that you are interested. Try something like this. I appreciate the conversation. Based on what you shared, the biggest needs seem to be cleaner reporting, faster stakeholder follow-up, and someone who can work independently. Those are all areas I have handled before, and I am very interested in the role. The fourth failure point is sounding interchangeable. This is when your answers are accurate, but they sound like a safe version of every other qualified candidate. You mention communication, teamwork, problem-solving, and growth, but nothing feels distinct. Hiring teams rarely choose the most generally good person. They choose the person whose strengths seem most relevant to their current problem. If you sound broadly competent, but someone else sounds specifically useful, they become easier to choose. To stop sounding interchangeable, identify your useful pattern. Maybe you are the person who fixes broken processes. Maybe you translate between technical and non-technical teams. Maybe you calm down messy customer escalations. Maybe you turn unclear requests into practical next steps. Once you know the pattern, repeat it through different stories. Do not use the exact same words every time, but let the same professional signature appear. The interviewer should finish the call able to say what you are especially good at. The best interview answers are not random examples from your career. They are selected for the role. Before the interview, read the job description and ask, what problems would make this company pay someone to do this work? Create a small story bank before the interview. Choose 6 to 8 examples you can adapt. Include one conflict story, one mistake story, one leadership story, one technical or functional story, one speed story, and one stakeholder story. Do not memorize long speeches. Memorized answers often sound stiff and they break when the interviewer asks a follow-up. Instead, memorize the bones of each story. What happened, what was hard, what you did, what changed, and why it matters. Follow-up questions are not attacks. They are opportunities to add evidence. If they ask why you made a choice, explain your thinking. If they ask what you would do differently, show judgment. If they ask for detail, give the detail without getting defensive. In recruiter screens, the problem is often not depth, it is clarity. Recruiters need to understand your fit quickly enough to pass you forward. Keep answers shorter, connect your background to the role, and avoid making them assemble your career puzzle for you. With hiring managers, the problem is usually confidence. They want to know how you work, where you need support, and whether your experience transfers to their environment. Give them examples that show decisions, trade-offs, and results, not only enthusiasm. In panel interviews, each person may care about a different risk. One person listens for technical depth, another listens for communication, another listens for team fit. Your job is to answer the question, then make the relevance easy for the whole room. If you are changing careers, you need to be especially concrete. Do not only say your skills are transferable, prove the transfer. Show where you solved a similar problem, served a similar user, used a similar tool, or worked under similar constraints. A weak answer is, my customer service background taught me communication. A stronger answer is, I handled high-volume customer issues where I had to identify the real problem quickly, document patterns, and escalate the right details. That transfers to support operations because the core work is triage and clear handoff. One warning, do not assume every no means you failed the interview. Sometimes the budget changes, an internal candidate appears, or the role shifts. But if you keep reaching final rounds with no offers, look for patterns you can control. After each interview, do a self-review while it is fresh. Ask yourself what questions they asked, which examples you used, where the interviewer leaned in, where they seemed confused, and which answer felt too generic. Then score your answers like evidence. Did I name a real situation? Did I explain the tension? Did I show my specific action? Did I include an effect? Did I connect the story back to the role? If not, revise before the next interview. If you notice the same weak spot 3 interviews in a row, treat it like a repair project. Maybe your examples are too old. Maybe your closings are weak. Maybe you avoid numbers. Maybe you sound interested, but not clearly useful. The goal is not to perform a perfect personality. The goal is to make the hiring decision easier. You want the team to leave the interview with clear reasons to believe you can solve their problems better than the risk of choosing someone else. So if interviews are coming in, do not throw away your whole job search. Separate the resume problem from the interview conversion problem. Your resume is opening the door. Now your answers need to turn experience into proof. If you want help diagnosing your own interview issue, comment with a stage where you keep getting stuck. Recruiter screen, hiring manager round, panel interview, final round, or salary conversation. You can also suggest the next job search topic you want explained.